Good morning, my friends, and welcome. This is Father Marcus from the Costa Blanca Anglican Chaplaincy. Sorry I missed you last week. I had a week off from these sort of things, and I'm delighted that we've resumed our communications. So bless you, and it's good to be spending some time with you. I've always been passionate about church growth, about trying to build the community and fellowship of whatever it is to be a member of a Christian community, gathering particularly in churches. I've always been part of the ministry of mine that I enjoy most. And I remember many years ago going on a church growth course. It was designed to teach you how to build your congregation. And when I say I'm ashamed, I'm not ashamed, I'm pleased. But I was kicked off. I was kicked off the course. And the reason I was kicked off the course was because I genuinely didn't agree with the basic principle that they were teaching. I just didn't agree with it. The organisation of the course was first class, but the driving force was you build your church community by gathering together like-minded people and inviting them along. And I thought to myself, like-minded people? I'm not sure that's a gospel at all. I'm really not sure that that's what the gospel is about. Jesus doesn't choose a group of like-minded people to become his disciples, his apostles. He doesn't choose a group of like-minded people to go and spread the gospel. He chooses a hugely diverse group of people. I mean, just think of Simon the Zealot. Simon the Zealot was a member of a political party whose main reason for being was to kick the Romans, the occupying Romans, out of the country. And Matthew the tax collector worked collecting taxes for those very Romans. And yet Jesus chooses them both and draws them in. And so I didn't stay for the duration of the course. I went and did my own thing. And on Sunday just gone, we had one of the most powerful readings that we ever get in church. It's a story of Thomas just after the resurrection. The disciples are gathered together in a room, the door's locked because they're fearful, because their leader has been crucified and he's dead and he's been buried, and they don't know what's going to happen to them. They don't know whether the authorities are going to come knocking. And so they're hiding away in a room, the door's locked, but Jesus comes and appears to them and he says, "Peace be with you." There's a whole range of other things. That's not part of the story at the moment. I'll come back to that another day. And he breathes on them and he gives them the Spirit. Anyway, he goes, and Thomas wasn't with the other disciples then. And then when later on Thomas comes back, they tell him, of course they do, that they've seen the Lord, they've seen the risen Lord. And Thomas says, unless I can see the holes in his hands and put my fingers in them, unless I can put my hand in where he was pierced with the spear, I can't believe. I can't believe it. Now, Thomas wasn't saying that the disciples were lying or making stuff up, but he just couldn't get his head around the fact that he'd seen Jesus dead and now they were saying that he was alive. He couldn't make that leap, that jump. Anyway, here's the interesting thing. He didn't accept what the disciples said, but they didn't kick him out. They didn't ask him to leave. They didn't ask him to go, because we know this, because a week later, they're in the room again, the door is locked again, and again Jesus comes and appears to them. And this time Thomas is there. And Jesus shows Thomas the holes in his hands and where he was pierced. He says, "Doubt no longer, Thomas, but believe." And Thomas proclaimed, "My Lord and my God." How great is that? Thomas, the people for 2,000 years referred to as Doubting Thomas, is the person who proclaims "my Lord and my God" to Jesus. But Jesus goes on and says, "Do you just believe because you've seen? How blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." This is so great. This is such a powerful story. And the reason it's a powerful story is because it gives us yet another indication that the people who Jesus chose to be in his fellowship were such a diverse group. And they didn't all think the same. They weren't of They weren't all like-minded. They had different opinions and different ways of gathering their thoughts and their information and different ways of understanding it, interpreting it. And I have found this really helpful. Many years later, after experiences in my ministry, in my life, where I've found myself sort of in conflict, not major conflict, but in conflict with people because we didn't see eye to eye on things, we just looked at things differently. I was introduced to the Myers Briggs personality type indicator test. And whatever you think about things like this, for me, it was incredibly helpful. All of us fit on a range of different stratas, and we're somewhere between a whole range of different ways of thinking, and the combination of those work out who we are. And the key thing about this test is that it allows us to understand that other people think and behave and gather their information differently from us, and that's okay. It's not a better or worse, it's just different. I'm just going to give you a very, very brief outline of how this works. All of us are on a spectrum somewhere between extrovert and introvert. And it's not quite as simple as you might think. You know, we might be vocal and talkative and outgoing, but also, like me, believe it or not, very shy. And we're somewhere on that spectrum between extrovert and introvert. And one that was really important to me was sensory and intuitive. A sensory person focuses on their senses as they gather information. They like to know the reality of how things are. They pay attention to concrete facts and absolute details. An intuitive person can more imagine the possibilities of how things could be. They're more likely to see a bigger picture rather than exactly what's happening. They can cope much better with concepts and ideas and abstract vision rather than practical stuff. And that for me was a really helpful one. And then there are two others. There's whether we make our decisions through thinking, and a thinking person is a little bit impersonal in the way that they go through their reasoning, or feeling, our personal values about what it means to us. And then the last one is to do with whether we make judgments or whether we perceive things different. A judging person, it doesn't mean to say judging one thing's better than another or one person better than another. It's a judging person prefers things to be more settled. They like rules and deadlines and regulations, whereas a perceiving person likes to have their options open and sees rules and deadlines much more as a flexible thing. And all of us are somewhere along the spectrum of all of those things. And then you put together where we are on those different spectrums and we get a personality type indicator. Now, what we can say for sure is that Thomas, because he said, unless I could see these hands, holes in his hands, and put my finger in there, was very much on the sensory side of things. He very much on the judging side of things. He liked things definitely, he likes things clear. Whereas Peter, for example, when he sees Jesus walking on the water, knowing that you can't walk on the water, intuitively thought, I'm going to have a go. And he gets out and he walks on the water towards Jesus. He perceived another option. He had a feeling that things would be different. And so all of us are somewhere along that spectrum. And what I say is, thank God that Jesus understood this and drew a whole diverse group of people to be his apostles. And thank God that the church is made up of very different people who become the fellowship of the body of Christ here on earth. It is a huge mistake to think that we've all got to think the same, that we've all got to be on the same part of our spiritual journey, we've all got to be heading in exactly the same direction. Sometimes those things help, but we learn most from those who are most different from us. And the story of Thomas is the great thing that reminds us, as much as almost anything else in the scriptures, that there are different ways of understanding things. And for me, the big thing is that The disciples didn't kick Thomas out when he said, I don't understand what you're saying, I don't get it, I can't join you in that thinking. And the second thing is that Jesus comes and takes the initiative and gives Thomas what he needs in order that he can be part of the body of Christ. And that is the key thing. Jesus gives us what we need in order to be part of this fellowship, part of this body of Christ, part of the group that builds the kingdom here in this place. And we need people who are very different. And we need to work together with our differences to see the bigger picture, which is the glory of the kingdom of heaven. So bless you, bless you, bless you. Thank you for watching and listening. And I'll speak to you soon. Okay, have a great day. Have a great day.